The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. This month's programming is sponsored by Wolf Trap. Paul Simon, Hart, the Goo Goo Dolls, and many more are coming to Wolf Trap this summer. Tickets for over 50 summer concerts are on sale now at wolftrap.org. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. March's dining special events include March Mania food, drink, and viewing party packages in the all-new ESPN Bet the 20th through the 23rd. Details and reservations at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Country music star Craig Morgan sails his Redneck Yacht Club into Baltimore's Inner Harbor to perform at CFG Bank Arena this Thursday night. He joined me to preview the show and discuss his new album, American Soundtrack, as well as his biggest hits, including Almost Home, That's What I Love About Sunday, Little Bit of Life, and International Harvester. Hey, Craig Morgan, hey, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me.
We've been listening to you for years, all the hits. Maybe we can get into some of them if we have time, but we got to start by saying you're coming to Baltimore, Maryland at the CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore, Thursday, March 20th. You'll be touring with Blake Shelton and Deanna Carter and Trace Adkins. How fun has it been touring with all those guys and gals? I mean, they came on the scene, I guess, just before you, right? Yeah, I think Austin and Old Red and Strawberry Wine and Every Light in the House is on. Yeah, right before you came on the scene. So you probably were a fan right when you were getting into biz, and now you're touring with them.
Oh, yeah. Trace's music and Blake as well. I would say I'm probably not as big a fan of Blake as I am Trace.
He's going to ding you for that.
All these guys, though, honestly, even Dina, these are my friends. Yeah. So this tour is more like it's not like a normal tour. We're having a lot of fun doing this. And what Blake has put together, I think, is one of the best shows that is out there. I don't want to give him too much credit, but I have to give him credit for what he's done here.
I sense a fun, friendly rivalry ribbing going on all over in every city, probably.
Oh yeah, if you know Blake, you got to be prepared and on your toes at all times.
That's hilarious. Well, as far as you know, because that's an amazing bill with all the different artists. But in terms of narrowing down on your specific set list, I mean, it's been a big month for you. I guess you released your memoir, God, Family, Country, recently, and then timed right around the same time as your new album, American Soundtrack. Invite our listeners to, if they haven't heard it yet, if they know your hits but haven't heard the new one yet, invite them into American Soundtrack. The opening track. It's the opening track on the album. Tell us what it's about.
Well, American Soundtrack is about how music impacts us and how I believe that we can lay our lives out in music. And that's what American Soundtrack for me is about. It talks about the songs that impacted me. And I believe there are songs that impacted a lot of listeners. And it's not just country. It's a lot of, think about Sweet Home Alabama. It's hard to find somebody that's never heard that song.
Right.
And they all remember where they were the first time they heard it. And that's what music does. There's a bunch of songs on here that all are about those types of things, the things that I believe that the majority of the people in this nation celebrate: God, family, country. God's Problem song that talks about how I don't want to be one of God's problems. It's the only song on the EP that I didn't write, and it's a very personal song to me. Country Education, talking about being proud of the education that we have outside of our technical education. The things that we learn in life as country people. And Who I'm From is a song that talks about just that, who we're from. Everybody says, where are you from? I think people, when they hear this, are going to start asking somebody who they're from.
I like that. And you wrote that one. That is the sixth track. Tell me about Blue Collar Prayer. We need a little help with the blue collar folk in this country.
Yeah, and this song had gotten a lot of traction. It's crazy, what goes viral. I'm seeing there's a line in the song that says, and if you look close under her loose clothes, little Junior starting to show. It's talking about a waitress. It's how Blue Collar Prayer is about the hardworking middle class, the people that build this country, that make America. And in my opinion, it highlights them in a positive light. That's what that song is really all about, and how each one of them have their very own prayer.
Yes, we need to rebuild a robust middle class. It's basically been shrinking for decades. It's, the really top, tippy top and really poor. We need the hardworking blue collar, just regular folks. We need to rebuild it.
Well, that's what
Um,
makes America.
It is. It is. Just regular hardworking people. Well, let's talk about sort of where, you're talking about your roots and who you're from. You were born in Tennessee in '64. I guess not too far from Nashville. So I guess country music was probably all around. But what music did you listen to growing up? Like, who were your country icons when you were a kid?
Well, I was born in Nashville. Yeah, I
In
grew up
Nashville.
in and around Nashville my whole life. Country music was always a part of my life, but I listened to a little bit of everything. I went through various phases throughout my life based on things that were impacting my life, friends, and so on and so forth. But I listened, believe it or not, a lot of Lionel Richie, Luther Vandross, the Commodores.
Yeah.
But I also listened to Eric Clapton, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
I mean, I was influenced by all genres of music, and I think that's what Middle America is about. Our listeners don't just listen to country; they listen to a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
In American Soundtrack, I talk about all those different songs that impacted me, and I again think impacted a lot of people. "Sweet Home Alabama." There's not many people you can ask that haven't ever heard that song before. I don't care. You can be in a different country,
Yeah.
and they know "Sweet Home Alabama."
Yeah.
So all styles of music, but I listen to a little bit of everything.
I think that gives a rich palette. Everybody should listen to all genres and to be well rounded. You're right. It's the key. No matter what genre you're working in, it helps to have all those influences because
Yeah,
it's all really related, really. All right, and then I did want to remind our listeners, even before you became a big country singer, you served in our U.S. Army for like almost 10 years in the 101st and 82nd Airborne. You were including the big the U.S. invasion of Panama in '89 to take out Noriega, the dictator. How does your patriotism inform your music? You've been talking a lot about God, family, country, I guess the country part of it. Why was serving? Why do you think even to this day it was such an important backbone for you?
Well, let me start by saying the country reference is our country.
Yeah,
We're our geographical, yeah.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think obviously you're alluding to that, but I don't know. I think it's just because of who I am, the way I was raised. I was very, very fortunate that I made a decision early in life to serve my country, and that is something that I've always done, whether it be in that capacity or in law enforcement as a first responder. And I believe that all those people that do that. They have a particular gene that requires them to fulfill that desire to help others, and not necessarily for trophies or badges or pats on the back,
Right.
but it's just because it's what drives us. I mean, I'm the guy that if I see someone on the side of the road and I'm not running 90 miles an hour to get to the airport, but and they're changing the time, I'm going to pull over and try to help somebody. That's just it's who we are. It's what we do, and I believe again most of the people in this country are that way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for your service. I'm sure people say it all the time that the phrase sort of, it sounds cliche, but seriously, thank you so much. Well, so after you serve, you return back to Nashville and you get signed by Atlantic Records for that self-titled debut, Craig Morgan, in 2000. But I guess it was like your second album, I Love It, in '03 that really blew up and everybody starts knowing you thanks to Almost Home. To me, one of the greatest storytelling country songs of all time. Waking up, I guess a homeless man's dream near death. And he's like, I just climbed out of a cottonwood tree. I wish you'd just left me alone. I was almost home. I mean, there's got to be people. That's almost you could probably hold lighters up in the crowd and people like tearing while they're singing every word about running from honeybees. But why do you think that connected so? Is it the visual storytelling of it, or is it that idea of that we're all gonna meet our maker one day, and it's just capturing that little glimmer right before we enter the light?
I think it's a little bit of all of that. I
Yeah,
really do. One, I think country music is the better storytellers.
yeah,
I think they as writers, and I love that. That's the part I love. We have the ability to in ingest into you with lyric, and you conjure up your own image of what it is that's happening in that song.
hmm
You're talking about Almost Home. People always ask me, was he dying or was he just dreaming?
right,
And that's what's great about our music and all music, quite honestly. But I think country does it better.
yeah,
Is allowing the listener to ingest their own life, their own thought processing, and their story is part of that song's story. Um, Yeah, I think that's why our music does what it does.
Absolutely. Well,
And
that
I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
yeah, no, perfectly. We can all, like you're saying, everyone's imagining those lyrics and seeing a different movie in their head. Everyone will be different to the same words. It's magic to me. After that, I guess My Kind of Living comes out, and I guess you go to number one with That's What I Love About Sunday. To me, the secret sauce of that song is how it's all about ordinary things in life. You know what I mean? Like picking a backyard football team. Or I guess the best line is 35 cents off the ground round, baby. Cut that coupon. Talk about or explain why do you think that song is why it's important to highlight those ordinary things and in our own lives, like we need to slow down a little, like cherish the little things, you know what I mean?
well, I mean, you're talking that song and all of my music for the most part talks about everyday life.
Yeah.
It's real stuff that people deal with. And I believe that that's the majority of the people in our nation. You know, everybody talks about the uber wealthy. What percent is that? 1%?
Yeah. The
So
billionaires. Yeah.
I'm not singing to the billionaires.
Yeah, we're singing to the ground round customers.
And I'm one of those people. And I think
Same.
that's again why our format
Yeah.
is the king, and is because the people that singing these songs, I might live a little differently, but I'm telling you, my wife still cuts out coupons every now and then.
Yeah.
I am and have been and probably always will be that guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm singing to people that are living the life that I have lived for so long.
Absolutely. Well, if that song, What I Love About Sunday, is celebrating, a day of the week that's supposed to be for ordinary, easy living coupons. Almost home is like a dream. Maybe someone dying. Maybe you need a party song in your set list. So of course, Redneck Yacht Club comes on. I guess when you recorded that, was that like I need a summer party song. I need like a concert anthem to kick off the show, kind of an idea.
No, it was just I need a hit.
Well, it worked.
Yeah, and I knew that song was a hit. And I tell people all the time, I think we have, as we're talking about our consumer base
Yeah.
and us as people, we're not just the Sunday relaxed guys. We're also the Friday night Redneck Yacht Club party people. We cover the gamut of emotions in our music, and that's what I try to do with all of it.
I love it. Maybe only time for one or two more because I like highlighting these hits because it reminds people, oh yeah, he sang that, he sang that. I'm gonna buy a ticket to the Baltimore show. So on Little Bit of Life, obviously it's the album and then the title track. I like the unique structure of that one. It's not like a typical verse and then the chorus. It's like a little bit of guitar, a little bit of truck, a little bit of hound dog, a little bit of like you're like saying you're repeating the same phrase, and in doing that, the repetition makes it unique. Is that what drew you to it, or did you write it? I can't remember if that was you or a co-write.
It was a co-write. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is what drew it. Sometimes the alliteration is more critical than even the melody.
yeah,
And if people, and I found that people want to sing along, so I try to record music that excites people to some degree, whether it be a positive emotion or a negative emotion, something like that. And that song just again talks about all the things that we as middle class America celebrate.
absolutely. All right, time for one more on my international harvester. You sing it better than me. I can't. I love we're talking about unique approaches and phrasings and stuff. Like you don't have many songs, where it's hogging up the road on my plower. You don't usually do the intentional, I guess, stutter. Well, I guess it's been in certain songs. There's been some good rock and roll hits where they do that. I guess, what BTO? You ain't seen nothing yet. I guess there's versions of the stutter in there. But
Yeah.
what was the idea of doing that? Was that just to help make it stand out? What was it actually written like that on the page, or was that when you get in the booth, you're like, I'm gonna a little bit on that?
Oh, it was actually written that way. Shane Miner, one of my good friends, and Jeffrey Steele wrote that song, and I heard the demo, and I just knew instantly that it could be a big hit.
Yeah,
It's one of those songs where you go, it's either going to be a super huge song or it's going to be a complete flop.
yeah. And a flop, but it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a hit. It was great. All right. Well, I appreciate you doing the deep dives and all of your greatest hits. There's too many more albums that we don't even have time to go into them, but I'll list them. That's why This Old Boy, A Whole Lot More to Me, God, Family, Country, as we're talking about now, American Soundtrack to bring it full circle. I guess in the final seconds, I wanted to remind folks of a big thing. I guess was it last year? No, 2 years ago at the Grand Ole Opry, you re-enlisted in the Army Reserve. Why was that? Why was that special to do it, especially at the Opry? I'm sure that crowd in particular really appreciated that.
Well, as you alluded to, I had served, and I had almost 17 years total time in service when I got out, and I got out while I was doing the music as well. So it was, for me, it was very important, and also just historical and cool to bring those two, marry those two worlds back together, and to re-enlist on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. I was showing that I am bringing both of those worlds back together again in my life. I did it so that I could have that letter that says I finished my service to my country. I retired from service to my country. I've always wanted that. When I left with 17 and a half years, I didn't get that. So that's why I went back in to do it. And, to help with recruiting. At the time, recruiting was at an all-time low. It was lower than it had ever been. And I had to make a decision to join right then. If I didn't do it then, I wouldn't be able to join because of the age limit requirements. And I only had so much time to make up the remaining of my career to finish that 20. And so I had to do it then. And we've seen a huge uptick in recruiting as of late, especially. So it's very exciting to see that young men and women, as well as professionals, are joining our services in order to serve our country.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you for your service, and thank you for all the great hits. We only scratched the surface with a couple of the big ones, so you got to turn out to the show, everybody. It's at the CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore on Thursday, March 20th. Also get the memoir, God, Family, Country, and pick up the new album, American Soundtrack. Craig Morgan, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun and insightful on some of these tunes. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. Godspeed.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.